Today we're going to be looking at the WZ-111-14, which I'm just going to call the WZ-14 from this point forward, because this is like the typical Chinese vehicle with a really crappy name, because for some reason Chinese vehicles just all have awful names, aside from like the Type 59 and Type 58, things like that. They have easy names, but all the rest of them have garbage names. I mean, WZ-111-14, what a dumb name. I'm going to call this thing the WZ-14 or simply the 14 from this point forward. And if I mention the WZ-111 5A, then I'm going to call it the WZ-5A or just the 5A. Bit of a tangent there, but let's just talk about this vehicle. So this is probably my favorite tier 9 heavy medium hybrid in the game. Because there's vehicles like the T10 and the M451, I would kind of count as something like this as well, and also the 5120. Those vehicles are like, I would all say that they all count as sort of like heavy mediums. So they're heavy tanks which play kind of like mediums in some circumstances. I think this one's probably the best of the bunch. And the reason why is because I prefer the 490 alpha damage of this gun over the 440 alpha damage of the T10. And while I do have a good memory of the IS-8 back when the T10 was called the IS-8, I just didn't really think it held a candle to my memory of the IS-8. I know the T10 is a better vehicle, but I just didn't have as many incredible games in the T10, but I guess that's just because just general power creep in the game. Whenever I played the T10, there was like half the number of nations in the game as there are now. So, yeah, I think it's just partially due to that there. But this thing here, I haven't played it after the T10. I genuinely preferred playing this thing here because I prefer... Like, I don't mind this thing having a slightly slower speed. I prefer the slightly more durable armor that this thing seems to have. And I prefer the 490 alpha damage 130mm gun. I genuinely think this vehicle is the stronger of the two. Also, something weird, just random the knowledge when it comes to the WZ-14. It has 40 shots available in its ammo rack. It's able to have 40 shots in the turret. Do you want to know why that's weird? The IS-7 has a much bigger hull and a much bigger turret, but it can only carry 30 shots. No idea why that's the case, but I'm not going to complain too much when it comes to this thing here. That's more of like a just, why is the IS-7 like that sort of thing. So, yep, it's kind of annoying that that's the case, but with the IS-7 at least, but with this thing here it's a good thing because it means that you can carry a lot of HE and it's not going to get you killed. Whereas that's entirely possible. It's entirely possible that it'll get you killed in the IS-7. It's entirely possible to run out of shots in the IS-7. So you need to be kind of careful with the shots that you fire if it's going to be a longer game. So you can see here already that this thing's mobility is pretty good. I mean, I'm just like flying past all these other tanks, and the E50, if he hadn't been turned, I think would probably still be ahead of me. But, well, the M103, actually wait, is that... Why am I seeing so many stock tanks today? It's weird. Like, there's a stock 50 TP, stock M103. I thought the E50 was stock, but no, he has the top turret. It's kind of strange. Like, I've been seeing a lot of stock tanks recently. Like, I guess like a lot of people are grinding up through lines again or something like that. I don't know. It's kind of weird. It's kind of funny to like notice trends I got there where you start just noticing like a lot of people are driving stock vehicles because I'm so used to seeing everybody driving like maxed out tanks. So depending on how the enemy team is laid out, like if the Object 705 is fully upgraded, that could be a big problem. Same with the 50 TP and same with the M103, but the M103 is probably the least threatening vehicle of their tier 9s because M103, I don't really think I need to go over this particularly much, I don't really think I need to go over this much, but M103 is probably the worst tier 9 heavy in the game. A lot of people still try to defend it, but it has a garbage reverse speed, has garbage side armor, has garbage roof armor, has garbage cupola. It has a 120mm gun, 258 penetration. There are a lot of other vehicles that have this sort of penetration at this tier. The gun feels like nothing special. And honestly, the accuracy on that gun drove me nuts. I remember there was like, this is the only time I can remember this happening in a tier 9 vehicle. I fired 12 shots in a game at less than 200 meters range in the M103. RNG made me miss every shot. has only ever happened in the M103. It's never been replicated by another vehicle that I played at tier 9. That is part of the reason why I just despise that vehicle with all my heart, pretty much. Like, that tank is a pile of garbage. It's probably like it's probably the nicest way I can describe it. Let's see, I would hope to get another shot into this guy, but I think he's gonna get the side scrape. Unless he does that, in which case I can get another shot into him. And thankfully the 705 has an incredibly inaccurate gun, and the M103 is surprisingly far forward. I don't know why he would go so far forward this early on. Because, like, well, the M103 doesn't exactly have armor to really use in this sort of circumstance, but I'll happily take one hit from that guy to finish him off and get rid of him. Because that's an enemy gun that's removed, and he had, looks like the 490 alpha damage gun, because I'm pretty sure that one fires ABCRs as his gold round. Oh no, that was bad timing there, holy crap. And there's why I hate the M103. See that? So easy. Like, I mean, this is not exactly an accurate gun, but it's so... Oh yeah, and there's another reason why I hate the M103. If your turret's not pointing directly at an enemy, your armor is effectively non-existent. Like, I mean, look at that. That's a green penetration marker. I can pin that every single time I fire. No problem whatsoever. So easy. Where's that 50 TP? Wait, is he dead already? What the hell? I didn't even notice him dying. I didn't even notice he died. Weird. I don't know how that guy died so quickly. But this MX-65T has suddenly run out of all of his friends, and well, he's a 65T. There's not much he could really do in this here. And wow, that T30 was sitting in the background. Probably should have seen that coming, honestly, but I had the health to take the hit. I've done a lot of damage, so I'm happy enough. But I'm going to ping the map and let people know that there's T30 down there. But the E75 is on full health. He should have no problem pushing forward and just... What the hell? I think that was an artillery shot or something. I think that E75 should have no problem just pushing forward and spotting that T30 for us to try and like farm damage on it. Let me see, what's this E75 going to do? I think the E75 might be careful for a little while. The OPTA actually, I've just noticed, was spotted near our base. But I think my active role in this game, like my active role in pushing forward, I'm going to say is near its end, because I don't really want to risk my tank whenever I can still have an active like influence in this game. Like, there's a game which I'm considering putting up, which was like a live commentary as well, kind of like this one. I'm considering putting it up because it was lost because of the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life. It was like, it wasn't like, I'm not calling the person who was playing the tank dumb. Like, it was just weird why he chose to play that specific vehicle in that specific way. It was a Jagdpanzer 100 in a top tier game against tier 8s, and he sat at the back and fired one shot the entire game. Oh no, he fired two shots the entire game, one shot that did damage the entire game. And guess who that was against? Of course it was against me. And that lost us the game. One random as hell Jagdpanzer... Wow, the E75 died? What? I'm just going to summarise the end of that game because it dragged out for a really long time, unexpectedly. Like, I thought whenever we had the heavy tech advantage, and, well, before the E75 died, I thought the game was going to last maybe another 1 or 2 minutes. But what ended up happening after the E75 died was, well, the M103 died, and then it just became a stalemate for a while until a Scorpion G took a shot at an STRV, got himself spotted, he died. The artillery, for some reason, decided to change position. He got spotted, he died, and then the Borsig got rushed by 2 tanks, and then the T30 was left on his own, and he was eventually just finished off as well. And the SU-130PM was finished up before that there when Emil 1 rushed him. But it took ages for that to play out. It took a long time for that to play out, so I just figured it was quicker just to summarize it rather than showing it, because it just took so long to play out. But I will say my role in that game after that point was pretty, well, after the point which I cut it, was pretty limited. I effectively thought the best thing I could do really was just go to the top of the hill, and effectively just watch the backs of my tank destroyers, which were a lot further forward than me because they had a lot more health to play with. I pretty much just stayed on top of the hill because, well, I was a one-shot kill. And if I was killed by the artillery or killed by a tank destroyer, my teammates would immediately see that and know that someone at least was trying to make a push forward towards the hill. And that would allow them to react to that there and potentially move to the top of the hill themselves. But back on topic with the tank itself, I really do like playing this tank. I think this tank is awesome purely because it's so good at rushing forward, catching people out in bad positions. As an example, the Object 705 in that game, that guy kept pushing forward because he saw me falling back thinking that I was just going to try and like run away from him. I think it's what he expected me to be doing. He kept coming forward, allowing me to get a shot into his lower front plate, and then he misangled his tank, allowing me to get another shot into his lower front plate. Easy mistake to make on that tank. And then I just took one hit from him in order to finish him off. So I've effectively got about 1500 damage off that guy for 500 in return. That's a pretty good trade. And then when it came to the M103, whenever my teammates came forward, eventually to like back me up because I was so far ahead of them initially, it allowed me to just farm all that damage off of the M103, and I had no threat. There was no threat to me whatsoever from that guy because that guy was just completely focused on the guys to my right. So this tank is so good at initially leading a charge, and then a lot of the time what you'll do is you'll kind of fall back into like the support role and just like support your teammates, like, and getting shots in and like not be like the main target the enemy tanks are actually shooting at. Like, so as an example, on like Himmelsdorf as an example, if a heavy tank like leads, if you lead the charge up to the top of the tank, or up to the top of the hill at the very beginning, and then eventually like an E75 comes up to the top of the hill to back you up, what you'll do is you'll kind of like fall behind the E75 and like support them whenever they're trying to push forward. So they're the one that's taking the hits and like bouncing the damage hopefully, while you're like helping them out by like killing the enemy vehicles which are trying to fight them. So this tank is very good at like initially leading the charge and like using its turret armor, using its upper front plate armor. Then after that they're just kind of like just falling behind your more heavily armored teammates. Then once the initial fight with the heavily armored tanks on the enemy team is over, you can just rush off forward because you're a way faster vehicle than the heavily armored tanks that you were supporting. So you can just rush off and just farm any damage that's remaining at the end of the game. So this tank is just so good. It's just been relevant in all stages in the game. The only reason why I didn't do more in that game was because of the surprise T30 hit, which I wasn't expecting to take, because I got pretty ballsy and just rushed forward because I had a lot of health, and I was just like, I want to get one more shot of damage to get over to like the 3,200 mark. So you could argue that was potentially like a misplay on my part, but I got away with it for the most part. And it's one of those things where I got a little over eager to like push forward at that point, but it doesn't really change anything about the tank itself. The tank itself is still great for just initially like slowing down the enemy advance, supporting your enemy heavy tank, or supporting your friendly like heavy armored teammates, and then after that they're just rushing off ahead and just farm whatever enemy vehicles are remaining. Like, that's one of the reasons why I like this tank so much. And the only real problem with this tank, and the only real problem with like this tank getting access to it, is you have to go through the 110, which is a pretty terrible tier 8. Like, I didn't like that tank at all when I played it, and that was a couple of years ago. And then when it comes to the tier 7 is pretty much just an IS with like worse frontal armor, so pretty much just side group a bit more, and you got a wee bit more health as well. So the IS2 I thought was alright. The 110 I didn't like very much, but this thing here I think is fantastic. I think this tank is great.